All right, welcome to another deep dive. Today we're looking ahead to the Spring 25 release for Salesforce.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, always fun to get a sneak peek at what might be coming down the pipeline. And for this one, we have a great guide in Raksha Sanganee. Raksha's blog post really got us thinking about the possibilities.
Yeah, and when you look at Raksha's credentials, it's like, wow, 14 certifications, including application architect and CPQ specialist. Plus, she's a Capado Global Award winner.
Not messing around. So she clearly knows what she's talking about.
Definitely.
So I think what's really cool about her take is that she breaks down her predictions by role admin, developer, and architect.
Yeah, it's a really neat approach.
Makes it so much more relevant to you, right? Like no matter what your focus is in Salesforce, you can zero in on the stuff that matters most. So think of this deep dive as your personalized roadmap for Spring 25. All right, let's jump in with the first section, which Raksha calls Power Up My Automation Game. I love that title.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's very catchy. And you can tell she's super passionate about making admins' lives easier and empowering them to do even more.
And with automation, right? All those clicks, not code. So one thing she's really hoping for is some major flow enhancements.
Ooh, flow.
Imagine this. You're building this complex flow, maybe it's for lead assignment or something, and bam, you hit an error. But instead of those super cryptic messages we're all used to, Spring 25 could give you clear step-by-step guidance on what went wrong and how to fix it.
Game changer.
Right. Like having a flow building buddy right there with you. No more pulling your hair out trying to decipher those error messages.
I've been there many times.
And think about the time savings. You could knock out those flows so much faster.
It'd free up so much time for admins to, focus on more strategic stuff instead of just troubleshooting all day long.
Exactly. And along those lines, Raksha is also really excited about potential Lightning experience updates.
Always room for improvement there.
Think about record pages. They could become even more dynamic, more user-friendly. Wouldn't that be a dream for admins?
Oh, yeah. Happier users, less training needed, and it would let admins focus on those big picture initiatives. Win-win for everyone.
Absolutely. But it's not just about streamlining processes and making things prettier.
Right.
Raksha also emphasizes the need for better data visualization.
Yeah, the data is there, but are we making the most of it?
Right. Sometimes those standard reports just don't cut it. So imagine if Spring 25 gave us dashboards that were not just visually appealing, but truly interactive and insightful.
You could slice and dice the data however you wanted, spot trends instantly, and then share those insights with your team in a way that actually gets them excited.
It's like data storytelling, turning those numbers into a compelling narrative.
And that's what drives action, right? Data that people can actually understand and use.
Exactly. Now, of course, we can't forget about security. It's always top of mind, especially for admins.
For sure.
And Raksha really stresses the need for tools that make it easier to manage user permissions.
It's a huge responsibility, making sure the right people have access to the right data.
Imagine if we had features that let us set granular permissions effortlessly. No more headaches trying to figure out who should see what.
It'd be like a security dream come true.
Seriously. Yeah. But here's where things get really interesting. In my opinion, Raksha is hoping for more declarative Einstein features.
Ooh, AI for everyone.
So we're talking about harnessing the power of AI without writing a single line of code.
Empowering admins to build things like predictive models, maybe lead scoring.
Right. Or identifying potential bottlenecks in a process. Think about it. Admins could automate tasks that used to take them hours, maybe even predict which deals are most likely to close.
It'd be a whole new level of automation, driven by intelligence.
And speaking of solutions, we can't forget about the App Exchange.
Right.
Raksha sees it as an incredible resource for admins. And I totally agree. It's like this treasure trove of pre-built solutions for all sorts of challenges.
Yeah. If you're struggling with something, chances are there's an app on the App Exchange that can help.
It saves you so much time and effort. So, to wrap up this section, I think it's safe to say that Spring 25 has the potential to be a real game changer for admins.
I think so too. Lots to be excited about.
For sure. But hold on to your hats, developers, because next up we're diving into a section specifically for you, leveling up my coding skills.
Now we're talking.
Gotta give credit where credit's due. Raksha admits that she only dabbles in code.
She's being modest.
But you know what? She still has a fantastic grasp of what developers need to stay at the top of their game.
Definitely. And what I really like about this section is that it speaks to developers of all levels, from the seasoned pros to those just starting out. There's something here for everyone.
Okay, so first up, she's hoping for enhancements to Apex and SoCal.
The bread and butter of Salesforce development.
Right. Imagine you're working with a massive data set. It can take forever to query that data, right?
Oh, yeah. Performance is always a concern.
So maybe Spring 25 will introduce some SOQL optimizations that cut your query time in half.
That would be amazing.
Suddenly your apps are lightning fast.
And developers everywhere are rejoicing.
For sure. And of course, we can't talk about development without mentioning Lightning Web Components, the future of Lightning development.
Absolutely. LWC is where it's at.
So Raksha is eager to see what new components and framework updates Spring 25 will bring.
It's an area that's constantly evolving, so there's always something new and exciting to learn.
I'm curious about what they'll come up with. New components to streamline development. Maybe even updates that make our apps even more interactive and user-friendly. Who knows? But it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
For sure.
Speaking of user experience, Raksha also highlights the importance of real-time integrations.
Ah, yes. The need for speed.
So think of platform events as these real-time signals within Salesforce. When something changes, say a new opportunity is created, bam, a platform event is fired off.
Like a little alert going out.
And you can use that to trigger actions instantly in other systems.
Oh, that's powerful.
It's all about creating that seamless flow of information between Salesforce and all your other critical business apps.
Love it.
And to top it all off, Raksha is hoping for improved developer tools.
Ah, yes. The tools of the trade.
A developer is only as good as their tools, right? Better tools mean increased productivity, smoother coding experience, happier developers. It's all about creating an environment where they can really focus on building awesome solutions.
Couldn't agree more. When you have the right tools, it just makes everything so much easier and more enjoyable.
So there you have it, developers. A glimpse into what Spring 25 might have in store for you. Lots to be excited about, right? But our deep dive isn't over yet. We still have one more perspective to explore, that of the Salesforce architect.
Ooh, the big picture thinkers.
Exactly. And that's where we'll be focusing in part 2. So grab another cup of coffee, settle in, and get ready to think big picture with us.
Sounds good.
See you there.
All right. Welcome back to the deep dive. We just explored what Spring 25 might have in store for admins and developers, all those exciting new features and enhancements. But now it's time to shift gears a bit and take on the architect's perspective.
Yeah, the architects, those big picture thinkers, always looking ahead.
Exactly. And Raksha, she titled this section of her blog post, Thinking Big Picture, for a reason.
It's all about strategy, right? Seeing how all the pieces fit together, not just getting caught up in the shiny new stuff.
Architects aren't just thinking about the here and now, they're looking at the long-term implications. How will these new features impact the overall architecture? The scalability, the performance. It's about building a solid foundation for the future.
They're like the master planners of the Salesforce world, making sure everything is set up for success, no matter what changes come down the line.
Exactly. So let's dive into some of the key areas that Raksha highlights. First up, scalability and performance. Always top of mind for architects, right?
Oh, yeah. You don't want to implement some cool new feature only to have it bring your whole system to a screeching halt a few months down the line.
Imagine your data volume doubles or your user base explodes. Suddenly that shiny new feature isn't so shiny anymore.
It's like building a house on a shaky foundation. You might be able to add a few rooms, but eventually the whole thing could come crashing down.
So architects, they need to be asking themselves, will these new Spring 25 features put a strain on our resources? Will they introduce any new performance bottlenecks? It's about making sure the Salesforce org can grow and evolve without hitting any roadblocks.
That leads perfectly into integration patterns, another critical area for architects.
Ah, yes. Integrations, the glue that holds everything together.
They can get so complex, right?
Definitely. And with all these new features coming out, there's always the potential for new integration patterns to emerge.
So architects really need to think about whether these new patterns are going to be robust, scalable, and secure.
It's not just about plugging things together, it's about making sure those connections are strong and reliable, that they can handle the demands of a growing and evolving org.
And of course, we can't forget about security. Probably the most important thing, right?
Absolutely. Security and compliance are non-negotiable, especially with all the regulations out there.
It's like building a fortress. You can't just add the walls as an afterthought. Security needs to be baked into the architecture from day one.
Exactly. So with all these new features coming in Spring 25, architects need to be thinking, okay, how do these changes affect our security posture, our compliance posture? Do we need to adjust any of our policies or configurations?
It's about staying ahead of the curve, anticipating potential threats and vulnerabilities.
And speaking of data, that brings us to another important area. Data architecture.
Ah, yes, the heart of any Salesforce org.
With all these new features, architects need to consider how they might impact the data model, data storage, and the overall data management strategy.
It's like organizing a giant library. You need a system in place to categorize all that information, store it efficiently, and make sure people can find what they need.
Will we need to create new objects? Modify any existing fields? What about data retention policies? These are all questions that architects will be thinking about.
Right. They need to make sure that data is accurate, accessible, and secure, no matter what changes are happening in the org.
And finally, Raksha brings it all together with solution architecture.
The big picture of how everything fits together.
It's like conducting an orchestra, making sure all the instruments are playing in harmony to create a beautiful and cohesive sound.
Architects need to understand how all these new Spring 25 features can enhance existing solutions and be incorporated into new solutions that are being built for the future.
They're the masterminds behind the scenes, making sure all the pieces work together seamlessly to achieve the organization's goals.
And that's what it's all about, right? Making sure Salesforce is a powerful tool that enables businesses to thrive and succeed.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So as you can see, the architect's role is all about looking at the big picture, considering all the angles, making sure the Salesforce org is built on a solid foundation, ready to handle anything that comes its way.
And that brings us to the end of our exploration of Raksha's insights into the Spring 25 release. Of course, these are just her initial thoughts and predictions based on, what we've seen in the past and what Salesforce has been hinting at.
Exactly. We're all eagerly awaiting those official release notes to see what surprises Salesforce has in store for us.
But in the meantime, I think Raksha's post gives us a great framework for thinking about the possibilities. And hopefully this deep dive has sparked some ideas for you, no matter what your role is in the Salesforce ecosystem.
Definitely. Whether you're an admin, a developer, or an architect, there's something in Spring 25 for everyone.
Absolutely. But before we wrap up, I want to remind everyone about this amazing resource called Trailhead.
Oh, yeah. Trailhead.
It's like this giant playground for Salesforce professionals, and it's completely free.
It's the best way to learn Salesforce, hands down.
You can learn at your own pace, earn cool badges, explore different career paths, and connect with a global community of Trailblazers.
And once Spring 25 drops, there are going to be tons of new modules and trails to help you master all those exciting new features.
So if you haven't already, definitely check out Trailhead. It's an invaluable resource for anyone working with Salesforce.
For sure. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with a challenge.
A challenge.
Yes. We've talked about all these incredible possibilities with Spring 25, all this potential. But the real question is, how can you leverage these new features and enhancements to solve a specific challenge you're facing right now?
Ooh, I like that.
Think about your work. Think about those pain points, those inefficiencies, those things you wish you could do but haven't quite figured out how.
Maybe it's a process you could automate with Flow, or an integration you could build with platform events, or a new way to visualize your data with those enhanced dashboards.
Exactly. What's that one thing that's been bugging you? Could Spring 25 hold the key to solving it?
That's the challenge, folks. So we want to hear from you. Head over to social media. Share your thoughts, your questions, your hopes, and your dreams for Spring 25. Let's get a conversation going and inspire each other to make the most of this release.
Because that's what it's all about, right? Using these amazing tools to make a real difference in our work, to drive innovation, to push the boundaries of what's possible with Salesforce.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the future of Salesforce.
Yeah.
Until next time, happy trailblazing.